Hey, Big Red, did you hear about that game that's supposed to be the Warhammer killer?
Did they finally make Halo into a tabletop war game?
No, of course not. But now that you say that, I kind of wonder why nobody has.
It would be too hard to do that, right?
I don't think so. Spartans are just kidnapped kids, a lot like Space Marines, and the Flood are basically like a combination of the Necrons and Orcs.
And the Covenant are like the Eldar, and the Catan like the Forerunners.
Whoa.
Whoa. Wait, is this week's video about Halo?
No, it's just about whether or not there is a game that could be a Warhammer killer. I think we might have just figured one out. One of the companies that I have been interested in ever since I heard about them, just like Warhammer, was WarMachine. And they were kind enough to send me an army starter kit to like have me look at it, have me kind of take a look at the way that they do things. And next week's video, if you're interested in all about WarMachine, will be all about the starter army and about their game. But as I was looking into things about WarMachine, one of the things that I saw that kept coming up again was the Warhammer killer. And it made me think about when I was younger when this game Tribes came out. And I remember on the back of the box it said something along the lines of, it'll be the game that you stop playing Halo for, it'll be the Halo killer or whatever it is. And I remember thinking, is this game really going to be better than Halo? And I bought it, and it was super fun. I loved Tribes. If you've never played Tribes, it was out there. It was so ahead of its time in some ways and so behind in others, but it was honestly a really good game. But it wasn't a Halo killer. There wasn't a Halo killer, at least not at that point in time. And so it kind of got me wondering, is there a Warhammer killer? Should there be something out there that defeats Warhammer? And so I thought, well, let's look into it a little bit. So, first things first, let's get this out of the way. There is no Warhammer killer. Not yet. And honestly, I don't know if I want there to be one. What I really want is for there to be multiple games on the same level as Warhammer, and right now, nothing is. The tabletop world is just kind of all about Warhammer right now, and there are a bunch of little games on the sidelines that are starting to get noticed, and hopefully a lot of them will get noticed more and more and more with every passing year. But as I was looking into these games and wondering to myself if there is going to be something out there that can be a Warhammer killer, I came up with a list of things that Warhammer has that most other games don't. And those are age, lore, and quality. And so we'll talk about each of those. And first off, just kind of talking about the age. Warhammer is old. Of the tabletop games that are out there, I mean, it's right up there with D&D. I mean, granted, D&D's probably got a decade or so on it, but Warhammer really started getting big, if I remember, around about 87, which was the year I was born. So that just makes me even better.
I'm kind of a big deal.
But Warhammer's been around for so long. It is established. It has a legacy behind it that other games just can't compete with. If you're looking at quality stores, when you see that in business since 1800, Warhammer has that, in business for 30 years, which most of them can't say. None of them can say. And because of that, well, it's hard to get your foot in the door, especially when you're competing against Warhammer. Some of you might not agree with me on this. Some of you might. I hope you do. To me, these tabletop games are more than just a game. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of luck that goes into these games. And a lot of people have said that, the game's over before you even start it just because the game is fought in the army list. If you have a good army list, you're going to win, kind of thing. And I've never liked that. But something else, something that this game has that no other game has, is that it has that 30 plus years of lore behind it. Every faction, every army has a story. And that just makes the game come alive, especially for people like me. That's what sold me on Warhammer. You know, when you learn about the Grey Knights, who are just these incredible soldiers set aside to only fight demons. Like, that's their goal, is to wipe out demons. And at first, you know, I thought, oh, that's so cool. These guys are such good guys. And then you kind of learn that, you know, they'll kill demons at whatever cost, you know, whoever's in their way. And it kind of is like, oh, there's a little more depth to these guys.
That's shocking.
But to me, lore is huge. It's super important in a game like this. And maybe to you, it's not. Maybe to you, it's all about making that army. Maybe to you, it's all about painting that army, you know, showing off the skills that you have. And if it is, that's totally fine. But for me, lore is huge. And how do you compete with 30 years of lore? You know, I like WarMachine. They have some lore of their own, but they're nowhere near what Warhammer has. And some of the other tabletop games, as much as I love them and I love the way they look and the way they play, the lore is just not there for me. And honestly, that hurts it. That hurts it a lot for me. Now, I can't bring up WarMachine and Warhammer in the same video without talking about quality. Like I said at the beginning of this, WarMachine 3D prints their stuff. These models that I received are resin printed. And if you look closely enough, there are layer lines. You know, the layer lines are so small that when you paint them, you can't tell anymore, you know, but they're there. And so, is there a game out there with better quality than Games Workshop? And oddly enough, yeah.
Oh, I did not see that coming!
A lot of the games are getting there. Now, Warhammer will always have, you know, more factories, more ways to get these models and mass produce them where little companies won't. And so their quality will probably always have an edge up on most companies. But there are some that are getting close, if not right beside them. Miniac posted a video not too long ago about all of the different, you know, models out there, and I'll put a link to that under here. And he goes over all these different things. Games Workshop isn't top dog anymore, but their quality is so good, it makes them very hard to push out of the way. And like I said, they have hundreds of units, whereas most of these armies starting out, most of these different games that are trying to come out, 10, 20, 30 different models, trying to get their foot in the door. And it's up to people like us who buy those models to help them get more. And it's scary. So where other games are at right now, I mean, Warhammer still has such a monopoly on the market. They've produced more. They have so much more than other companies do. But slowly, they're losing that. They're losing that edge that they had. There are so many YouTube videos that you can find where people went to buy things from Game Workshop and they were out of stock. They didn't have them anymore. You know, the availability of models through Games Workshop is on the decline for some strange reason. It seems like everything's going better for them, but their models availability is getting less. So maybe there is some hope when it comes to the quality of models that are out there and their availability. But so far, Games Workshop still kind of holds the crown on that one. So to sum things up, will there be a Warhammer killer? Honestly, I think there will be. And the sad truth is that the one thing that's going to kill Warhammer is Warhammer. Games Workshop is, in my mind, not doing the necessary things they need to do to keep their player base. The models are becoming more readily available to anyone out there. I mean, like I said, you can 3D print an army. Pretty soon, games like one-page rules, where it's the norm to paint your army, to print your army, will be the big thing. Why wouldn't you? You know, yeah, the models, the quality are good, but if you can print the same exact quality as Game Workshop, it's only a matter of time before some company out there has lore that is good enough and they stick it out for long enough that they'll slowly begin to edge Warhammer out. And I'm not saying beat them, but compete with them. Make the market a little bigger, make it more open and available for other people, which honestly, in the end, will probably help Games Workshop drop down on some of their prices and help them to realize that their community is loyal and wants to be taken care of. So, is WarMachine the Warhammer killer? Not yet. Not yet. But I'm hopeful that one day there will be one game. There will be something out there that is a Warhammer killer. And maybe not just one game. Maybe multiple games that can push Warhammer not to the side, but to a better place where they can help and where they can share what they've learned with other companies. And we can have multiple companies that are working together to make the tabletop gaming experience better for everybody. At least that's what I hope. So, WarMachine. Not the Warhammer killer yet. Hopefully one day. And like I said, I'll talk about the perks and all the cool stuff that goes into WarMachine. If you're not playing it, if you haven't given it a shot, for a quarter of the price it takes to get into Warhammer, you can have a full army of WarMachine. And that'll be in next week's video. So, come check that out. And as always, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming here. If you agree with what I have to say, let me know. If you don't, let me know why. I want to know what you think. Is there a possibility to beat out Games Workshop? I think so, but maybe you don't. So let's hear about it. And until then, as always, don't spend so much time building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. Until next time.